Kia ora, and welcome back, everybody. Hey, first of all, thank you very much to everybody that's been commenting, leaving messages. Really, really appreciate it, sharing your experience. Very grateful for that. Thank you for the kind messages and the support. Back with part 4 of my reaction to Mr. DJ Shipley from DEVGRU, not Delta. My bad for putting that down in the description in one of the earlier videos. Thank you to those that were kind enough to correct me. So let's jump back in.
It was pretty cool.
So what were you guys doing then if you weren't on the PSD team?
Doing raids.
Raids?
Yep.
How many raids were you doing?
A couple a week.
Couple a week.
Yeah. 4 or 5, like staying busy. But they were all mobility packages. We'd pull out of that base and there was no armor. There was no armor in the turret gunner. So I'd rock the 50 up front. And it was bad, man. Like you just see the rubble on the side of the road, expecting to hit one, you just wouldn't. And we make it through and you come back and you're like, okay, gotta get some pancakes. Here we go, gotta make it back. We drive back and nothing would happen. You're like, every day was a breath hold, just waiting to get hit. And you'd hear it. Like SIG-ACTs would get reported, all the significant activity, all the IDs that were hit the day before. And it's the same route in and out. You have to drive there to start everything. It's like, Marine convoy here, Army convoy there, 10 people killed here. God, like, when is this going to happen? And because the curfew was so strict that time, you never saw anybody. We didn't do anything during the day. So at night, I didn't see an Iraqi, an actual local, for months.
No shit.
No, not until we started doing DAs. We just didn't. It'd be a couple dry holes. And you're like, are there people in this country? Like, where are they? The curfew was so stringent right then. You didn't see them. And then all of a sudden you got on a good target set. Now there's a bunch of people out. And now you're like, oh, okay, this is it. It's weird, man. Like, Iraq was a weird animal, especially then being so young, just not really knowing.
Yeah.
A lot going on there. Just one with the hits that they were doing, going out when they weren't doing the PSDs or the personal private security details. But man, these guys getting out there and just listening to DJ talking about breath hold before they go out, just waiting to get hit because of the IEDs or the improvised explosive devices that were going off and taking out so many people. Man, just the courage that it takes for these guys in particular. And DJ's talking about how young they were. I think 19 he was at that time from memory. To go out there knowing that you're potentially going to get hit or blown up. The Marines, regardless of whether they're Delta, DEVGRU, Special Forces, SEALs, Marines, whatever, that ability to go out to just suck everything up and go out there and look to do the job based on the targets or the packages that they were getting. Massive amount of courage to go out and do that. It's coming up to Anzac Day soon. It's sort of, for me anyway, personally, brings to mind those young men, that some of them who lied about their age to go in and fight in the war. The courage that they had to get up out of those trenches and run towards almost certain death for a large majority of them, or many of them. Same with just coming off the boats and onto the shores. It's just, it's very sad. It's humbling to be reminded of the sacrifices, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, of those that have literally been willing to put it all on the line, just like DJ and his team and many others. So, yeah, grateful for that. Huge respect. That cannot be easy. And I think in the earlier, the part 3 reaction, maybe 2 or 3, is talking about how young they were. So he was mixed in with some senior guys, but it was all still fairly new to them, the situation in Iraq. And yeah, man, that must have been hectic. But the fact that he never saw a local for, I think he said, weeks or months, that's crazy. That's nuts. I've seen plenty of them while I was there. Now, more so by that stage in the private security side of things, going in and out of Baghdad. But yeah, prior to then was some skirmishes and contacts and stuff out in the desert. So yeah, the fact that they didn't see anybody in the capital in Baghdad is pretty unreal to hear. But anyway,
the training, I felt the training was good, but the mindset wasn't. Like, I had no idea mentally how to prepare for that. I just didn't. It's like we're doing land warfare in Arkansas. I don't know what that has to do with driving around Iraq right now. Like, yeah, I'm really good at running a saw on a 60, like, but we're gonna get blown up right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think, sorry to cut him off, I don't think there is any specific training. I never underwent any specific training in the unit around going out patrolling, getting ready for the potential, or going into an area where there's potential IEDs and you could be blown up. I think some of the training and stuff or some of the opportunities that I had in the private sector in particular, and especially again working with the Brits and the Kiwis in the team that I was lucky enough to be a part of, working for Pilgrim's security group at the time. Yeah, they're just low profile. We didn't stand out too much, so it was a lot easier for us. I didn't have that thought of, I didn't have the constant thought of that we're potentially going to get hit by an IED or get blown up because of the way that we were getting around, versus a military setting. Like, they can see you coming a mile away. So anybody who's got something set up on the side or under the road or underneath a little shallow divot in the road or pothole, very easy to clack that thing off if they want to, depending on who they want to hit. So I don't think there is any specific training for that. And that's why I have even more respect for people like DJ and those that went out there same route, knowing that there's a high possibility that could happen. And just thankfully it didn't, in this case so far. I don't know if it does happen, but thankfully it hasn't happened yet for him and his team.
Target discrimination. I mean, you'd see people on the rooftop, ski masks, carrying dishkas or PKs, whatever. Are they good? Are they bad? Are we going to shoot these people? Like, don't fire until you're fired upon. And they wouldn't shoot at you. Are they good? He's like, sometimes it's neighborhood watch. That's a lot of pressure on a 19-year-old kid to not shoot a dude with a PK. Like, you want me to wait until he shoots me? That's kind of a weird thing to say. But
damn.
Yeah.
Those ROEs or rules of engagement, and they can be tough. And so hearing him, and just again, 19-year-old, the discipline, courage, strength that it takes to refrain from that when you're seeing people like he's seeing on rooftops with PKs and dishkas. Hats off, man. Like, that's hard. It's hard to to not only not feel threatened, but to not start lining your weapon up on that person. Really, really tough. And I guess things that people that may come across this video or that may watch may not necessarily understand. In that space, like, they're not just running around DEVGRU, not DAUDA, not SEALs, not the SAS, not other SF units. They're not just running around doing things willy-nilly for the most part. So don't get me wrong, there's clearly some stuff that's happening at the moment, or that has happened in recent times, in and around actions and behaviors of individuals that come from an SF background or SF unit. I'm no expert in terms of, I wasn't there for those ones, so I'm not going to speak to that. I'm only speaking from my experience and what I'm hearing here with DJ speaking. It takes a lot of discipline, courage, to be able to go out there and do that, and wait until you're fired upon, but always trying to anticipate as best you can, trying to protect yourself, your mates, being aware, situationally aware of what's going on around you. That's very, very difficult for anybody that hasn't, and I can't describe it adequately enough. Sorry about that, but hopefully you get the idea through my stuttering and blubbering away, or waffling.
Well, then, how far? So
we
you're on your
get
first deployment, and the biggest loss in SEAL team history happens.
Yeah, man. So we're in the compound. Everybody was there. 4, 10, 5, 7, we're all in there. We've got a centralized jock, and new guys never came to the jock. We just didn't. You stayed out of it. We stayed in our own little bat cave doing new guy stuff. But I remember I was walking back from the gym one night, and the double doors open, and it was a huge TV screens, typical jock, cinematic screens all over the place. And this frantic O stuck his head out.
So, Jock, Joint Operations Center. I just was thinking Shawn, as he usually does, might have mentioned something, or at least that's what it was at the time. So, Joint Operations Center, like DJ's talking about all the screens and everything and people doing their jobs. So that's all that was. I just thought I'd chime in there with my 2 cents.
And grabbed me, he goes, "Are you at SEAL Team 10? And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Go get your OIC right now." And I looked over his shoulder, and I saw what looked to be the side of a mountain and a big smoldering thing sitting on it. And I ran back out there, and I grabbed him as fast as I could and told everybody. All the new guys stayed put, and all the old guys ran into the jock. And it only took a couple minutes, and you could hear it. You could hear grown men wailing. And they knew. I got goosebumps thinking about it. Fuck, man. You didn't know. So I was supposed to be an Echo platoon. I was. And my LPO of golf platoon pulled me out because he knew my dad. So I was supposed to be in Afghanistan, and now I'm in Iraq. But all of our best friends that volunteered all went to Echo platoon. And Echo platoon is on deployment in Afghanistan. So I think all of our best friends are dead. We think everybody's on the same bird, and they're all dead right now. And we hear nothing for like 2 weeks.
You didn't hear anything for 2 fucking weeks?
Nothing.
Sorry to cut him off. That's just chiming in on the 2 weeks, but that's shocking. Like they're not hearing anything for 2 weeks. The sadness that must have been there and felt with these men, hardened men, operators, but still human beings, at the end of the day. Still, flesh and blood, skin and bone, still have a heart, love, loss, friendships. Man, that must have been, I can't even imagine.
Everything converged in Afghanistan, and they put us on River City, and we heard nothing. I saw pictures of dead guys in the gym when it came out in Navy Times.
Damn.
We didn't know anything. We didn't have email accounts back then. Like it wasn't like you were on some secure access. Like you didn't get anything. They shut down the phones, and when the CMC finally came in, he briefed on the entire thing, and they broad brushed the actual ground element. I didn't find out about Marcus Luttrell and all of those people for months later. I'd never heard the story. He was so overtaken by the helo going down that Marcus who? Like I had no idea. Never even heard that story. He came in, and I remember asking him. Everybody walked away, and I grabbed him. I was like, "Are any new guys dead?" He said, "Nope." And it was a sigh of relief, selfishly, because the new guys are who I knew. And then I thought, oh, fuck. All of that experience is gone right now. He didn't have a total. He just said no new guys, but you knew it was an entire bird full. Like you knew that. It's like now the names started to come out. And I remember they set us all down. We were sitting down outside of a bunch of trailers, big gravel, big fire pit, and we put up the Proxima, like typical team guy shit. And they're playing the memorial service they shot at Little Creek. They're playing it for everybody. And, you see Seth Lucas come into frame. They pin his old man's award on him, and I'm fucking bawling my eyes out, and it keeps going through and through. And it gets to a point, Patsy gets up and speaks on Danny's behalf. And I remember I said it. What the fuck is an SDV2 guy doing there? And then SDV1. I'm like, what the fuck is that? But no one knew. No one said anything. At least not at that time. It did.
Sorry, I don't know what an SDV2 and an SDV1 is, but hopefully maybe it'll come out, or maybe somebody might drop it in the comments, or I'll try and do some research later.
Make any sense to us? Are they just augments? Or they're just assisting echo. We had no idea it was a QRF. At least I didn't for a long time. And then it started to come out about the lone survivor and everything else. And then we started to piece the story back together. But until I was back at stateside, mid-second deployment or mid-second workup, 2006, I finally heard the story from someone who was there. I had no idea. They yeah, that helo was the only thing that mattered. Like that was our entire world.
Did that 'cause we were right around
Sorry, I'm just going to cut in there as well. Clearly, yeah, a lot of emotions. Well, from what I'm picking up from DJ anyway, a lot of emotions and pain, obviously, for obvious reasons still there. But man, he's held it together so well on this interview with Shawn, reliving that, speaking about it, going through it. And it's hard to hear right now, just him having to relive it and the lack of communication and the comms that they didn't have in terms of knowing who had passed, who was still alive. Definitely not selfish on his part, but I acknowledge and understand where he's coming from when he's talking about wanting to know if any new guys had gone or had passed, because yeah, that was who he knew. And then obviously clearly realizing the experience and that's lost from that situation. So yeah, just respect, man, to be able to hold it together and speak about such a sensitive and painful topic.
the same age that time when I was in too. And did that hit you? Like, did the magnitude of what happened actually hit you being that young?
Nope.
And you didn't know anybody? You know, you didn't know those guys. I didn't know them either.
No.
It didn't hit me.
No, the old guys I didn't know. I mean, you knew some of them. Got really tight with their wives afterwards, all the kids, obviously. But no, like they were, you were platoon chief, Echo Platoon. I don't know you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not in Echo Platoon. Known from a reputation, stuff like that. But at that time, there's no way you could understand the magnitude of what that did to the community.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about a dose of reality. That's reality. Like that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like these people are actively trying to kill you. It's like to me, it wasn't real yet. It was like a cowardice thing. Like, oh yeah, they playing IEDs, like this and that. But team guys weren't getting shot. Like they weren't dying. Like, had a couple random ones, but not like that. Not like that.
Yeah.
It's like SEALs don't die like that. Like you can't just take out that many. It's not a thing. So yeah, heavy dose of reality on the way back. But yeah, the magnitude wasn't probably until extortion actually.
No shit.
Yeah.
That long.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me until we relieved those guys over there, and it didn't really sink in until we started seeing some of the intel reports, and I remember I was with a good friend of mine sitting next to him, and they were showing deets on there, and he just started fucking crying, and they were stripping his clothes off, and he was like, I remember when he got that fucking tattoo on his rib cage, and I was like, oh shit, this is fucking the real deal. But yeah.
Yeah, man, it's real deal. Like there's
Feel for these guys, man, talking about it, even though they're talking about they didn't really know them. It's still, it would have impacted them in some way, I would imagine, but just hearing and seeing and listening to them now, the impact and how it hit them later down the track. No doubt we'll hear about extortion in this episode, but just seeing and hearing and feeling just through their conversation, through the technology of what's going on in their mind and how they're thinking about it now, how they're connecting with it now, and likely connected with it before now. But in this moment where both of them have got experience, where Shawn's talking about they went in and swapped out and relieved, I think is what he mentioned. DJ and his connection, man. Yeah, sometimes stuff that we go through, we don't realize or connect to it or are able to understand it or comprehend it until after the fact. Sometimes it's only once we are looking backwards from where we are that we can connect the dots to how and where and why we ended up where we ended up. And even then, that's not always a guarantee or not always the case, but it can also be cause for a lot of serious contemplation and reflection. And hopefully, with that information, we can take it and then try and do something good with it, like both these men are. You know, there's a lot of good coming from this. Hopefully not only just for them, or clearly not just for them, But for people like me, like not connected in any way to these teams or to the people, to the lives that were lost, but I can feel it all the way from here in little old New Zealand, having had the privilege to serve in the Tier 1 SF unit. And so that connection in that regard is there, but the respect and admiration for these men, those units, and anybody that goes in and serves, I can, at least anyway, I'll speak for me, I can connect to that in some small way, and just a massive amount of respect and empathy for these men, and the families, obviously, that have been affected. So
There's some evil people on this earth, really committed to the cause.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's really hard to train for that scenario, though. It's like how good everybody was on that helo. Like, they were all bad motherfuckers, dude. They were awesome. And it didn't matter. It's like, God, if you just would have let him sit on the ground and then ambushed him, like some coward's ass shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, war's not fair. I think that was the lesson learned out of that. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you don't get the chance to fight, the chance to show how good you are, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take another.
Just hearing that makes me think about, and I didn't know anybody in that incident, that tragic accident that happened, but Australia, they had a Black Hawk accident during a training exercise. I think it was a nighttime exercise, and they lost about 15 or so. There might have been 20 plus all up lives lost, but I believe they lost about 15 or so actual badged operators from the Australian Special Air Service Regiment. Before my time, I think it may have happened in 1996, something like that, or around that time. I'd have to go back and double check. I'm rubbish when it comes to blank and military history and that sort of thing. So, but I can have a look at that and try to clarify that later, or somebody else might have already had a look and dropped the link in the comments. But even though I didn't know any of those guys there, and they're obviously well remembered by those that do and did know them, you can still connect to that. I can still connect to that, I should say. Having had the privilege to go in there, knowing that going into a unit whereby these trailblazers, these foundation setters, the men whose shoulders I and many others have been privileged to stand on, to go in and serve, on the back of their legacy and their service, is huge. It's sad and heartbreaking for their families, obviously, with the loss of their loved ones. But man, just hearing this story, and this experience of what happened, told in these guys' words, particularly DJ's, really impactful. And the amount of strength and character and courage that it takes. Clearly, he's probably got some good people around him as well, which I like to think he has. Family, friends, that sort of stuff. But still, you still, in those moments when you're alone, and there's lots of times when all of us are alone, sometimes it's up to us to pull ourselves out of that and to stay in the fight. So just mad respect, and admiration for DJ and for these guys.
A quick break. When we come back, we'll get into your second deployment.
Cool.
Break time. Actually, cool. Hey, I'm going to wrap this one up here. It's about 24 minutes. Try and keep it a bit shorter. I know I spoke the majority of that time. Apologies about that. But yeah, really appreciate, again, like I said at the start of this video, all of you that have taken time out of your busy schedule to spend some time here on my humble little channel. I'm extremely, extremely grateful. Thank you very much for that. With that said, I'm going to do another reaction to this. I've got to download and do all the bits and pieces, which I'm still not very good at, but getting there. Technology helps as well, and YouTube and Google's YouTube searching how to do certain things definitely helps out a lot with the process. But in closing, and as always, to anybody out there that may be going through challenges, difficulties, struggles, trials, whatever those might be, Know that better days are just around the corner. I don't know when you'll come around it. I don't know how far over the horizon you'll need to travel. I don't know how long that tunnel of darkness that you may be in will continue. But better days are ahead. So just stay in the fight, keep tuning up each day. Go always a little further, take one step at a time. Just keep taking another step. And remember, who dares wins. Until the next video,